I would say I'm a maximalist, but that is because I understand economics, and I recognize that currencies are useful the more people use them.
Bugano's Plan B podcast presents Just Another Bitcoin Kid with Peter Todd.
What made you be interested in Bitcoin?
So I would have been probably, I think it was 29 when I sort of quit the day job, if you will, and did Bitcoin full time. And to be honest with you, Bitcoin was cool, but like prior to Bitcoin, I was working at a gravity gradiometer startup, and that was the type of thing which could help revolutionize mineral finding. So Bitcoin's cool, but other stuff's cool too. So it was, especially at the time, it wasn't really clear would Bitcoin actually work. It certainly was plausible we'd get to where we are right now, but we got lucky.
How did joining the Bitcoin movement at a young age shape your worldview and career?
No, I think it's the other way around. My values led me to being a Bitcoiner.
What are those values that made you become a Bitcoiner?
I don't think that's easy to tell, and the reason is, people get into Bitcoin for all kinds of reasons. Bitcoin is useful for a lot of different reasons, and all across the political spectrum, we see people who need freedom. And most aspects of the political spectrum, if you can't go and transact, you can't get your goals accomplished. And something I always like to point out is, every time you go to a protest, who paid to buy all those signs? Who paid for the buses that got people there? Doesn't matter what the heck your political aspirations are, unless you want straight up fascism, you need something like Bitcoin to exist to reliably be able to play a part in the political process.
How did you come up with replace by fee?
The reason why I quit the day job and worked on Bitcoin, honestly, was because previously I was working in analog electronics. And the reality is I'm not smart enough to make a contribution to that. That industry is just too old. It's very mature. Incredibly smart people have evaluated every single aspect of it. So when I saw Bitcoin, I saw this very interesting thing that could grow. And there were things you could do there that were novel enough that the smart people hadn't looked at it yet. And I could do interesting things. And beyond that, so much of it's just, of course, I believe in what Bitcoin represents. And I know that if it's going to succeed, well, people need to do work on it. Although frankly, probably the majority of work I've done in terms of time has actually been going to conferences, talking to people about Bitcoin, educating, doing all that stuff. I'm not a sort of like heads down developer like so many people are. I'm not the sort of person who shies away from talking.
What was your reaction when you saw HBO's claims of you being Satoshi?
And what that really comes down to is, I suspect the guy who made that documentary, Cullen Hoback, I suspect he wanted to make a documentary about Bitcoin. And in the process of making it, he probably realized that he didn't actually have something that would work in TV. Like it or not, as much as we're excited about it, Bitcoin's not that exciting to the world. Bitcoin is just money, and if Bitcoin works well, it should be boring. It should just be money, and I should just send it to you, and that should be that. If we've done our jobs, Bitcoin should be actually kind of boring in many ways. And I suspect Cullen, 3/4 of the way through his documentary was, shoot, I don't actually have something for HBO here. Well, now what am I going to do? Well, let's just tack on this finding Satoshi thing. And of course, why do I get picked as the Satoshi guy? I suspect because Cullen realized it'd be good marketing to go say, well, we found Satoshi, and it's not who you would expect. Well, who wouldn't you expect? I'm a good example. Now, granted, I've had people go accuse me of being Satoshi before, but pretty much everyone under the sun has been accused of being Satoshi. Like, obviously, you being an interviewer here, that is your deep cover hide, so no one would ever suspect you being Satoshi.
Give me your best bet on who is Satoshi.
Well, for legal reasons, I should go say Craig Wright, obviously, because he's sued us multiple times, and surely if we just say he's Satoshi, he'll go away. Although, curiously, like the UK courts kind of said, Craig Wright has less chance of being Satoshi than a houseplant. Like, honestly, to be serious for a moment, the fact is, Bitcoin's not that complex. Like, the core of what Bitcoin is, the remarkable thing about it is Not that it's some incredibly complex thing, not that it's some brilliant piece of engineering. It's that it's an incredibly simple idea that can be explained in very little time. In fact, frankly, when I first saw the Bitcoin white paper, my reaction was, shoot, I should have thought of that. Because it was just so obvious that it could work. And it's the kind of thing that you just need a flash of inspiration to come up with. Well, who could have come up with Bitcoin? Probably on the order of like 10,000 people. The list of potential Satoshis is just so long. And there's a good chance it's just some totally unknown dude who happened to have a bit of cryptography knowledge and just that one flash of inspiration. And we'll never find out. Because the guy probably decided, you know what, I've created my thing, I'm going to walk away now. I mean, the thing that is most amazing about Bitcoin as a digital currency, especially at the time when it was created, was that who Satoshi was did not matter. It's an actual decentralized system. The creator has no role in it. You choose to run the software, you choose to change the software you want to. What that software is, that defines Bitcoin. Who created it? That's just an historical footnote.
Tell us why Bitcoin is important and making an impact in places like Ukraine.
Well, not directly humanitarian efforts. I've been in the country, and among other things, I gave some talks at local Bitcoin meetups. I mean, but, to be honest with you, like, being in Kiev at the moment, well, I wouldn't say it's entirely safe, but it's not that dangerous place to be. It's a pretty normal city. I mean, it's normal because of the sacrifices of Ukrainian soldiers keeping Russians at bay, but I could almost say if you want an interesting place to do some tourism and eat some good food, you could go to Kiev right now or Lviv. So I went there among other things to go speak at Bitcoin conferences, and they need people showing up, and like anything else. So I was happy to do it. Well, an interesting thing about Bitcoin with respect to the war is that pretty much every Ukrainian military organization and humanitarian organization that's accepting donations, which I gotta say is like pretty much every unit on the front line, they're all accepting Bitcoin donations. And they do it because no one can stop them. Now, the Ukrainian government probably, frankly, has better things to worry about than Bitcoin right now, but Bitcoin's legal to use there. Like, you can buy and sell Bitcoin in Ukraine with no AML KYC. There's not really much in the way of restrictions there. And for the units, if they accept PayPal, inevitably their PayPal accounts get blocked. And it's legal to go send money to Ukraine for PayPal. It's legal to donate money to buy weapons. But for whatever reason, PayPal just keeps on blocking these guys. And it's just an incredible nuisance. And Bitcoin is a way that they can accept money that just works. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous to go say this. Like, it should be that their PayPal account shouldn't get blocked, but they do. And from their point of view, Bitcoin works just fine for that. I think it really comes down to a matter of freedoms. Like, Bitcoin has the freedom of not having arbitrary interference, whereas PayPal, even though it's perfectly legal, they still arbitrarily interfere with your ability to accept money. And, in the case of PayPal, I would not be surprised if a lot of the problems that these units have is something as dumb as PayPal happens to have some pro-Russian employees who just keep on arbitrarily shutting down these things. Because remember, when a bank shuts down your account, in most countries, you have no recourse. There's no damages. You can't sue them over it. They can just shut your account down, and that's that. Often they can just take your money and never give it back. I mean, PayPal was under investigation in the US years back for taking literally hundreds of millions of dollars from people and just never giving it back. And state attorneys started wondering, well, shit, I mean, is PayPal just keeping this money? Are they like actually sending it back to their corporate coffers? And in some cases they were, and they can get away with it because that's how the fiat currency system works.